some interesting news. That Bitcoin ETF, the one that we have been talking about for years and years and years and years, and all kinds of companies have put filings to apply for a Bitcoin ETF. It seems like the day has finally come. Tomorrow, the first Bitcoin futures ETF will start trading on the New York Stock Exchange, which
Shake your
is
shoulders,
pretty
everyone.
huge
It's a party.
news.
No one cares.
So
okay.
SEC has given the go-ahead for Bitcoin futures ETF. We know this because of a filing from this company that was filed today. An SEC filing. The company is ProShares, and they're going to be launching a Bitcoin futures exchange-traded fund. And this we kind of got this news on Friday, but as we know, the SEC doesn't. Kind of because it's a tacit approval, right?
Why are you putting shade on
CoinDesk.
SEC's name, man? You have recoindesk.com.
Because
We had this on
literally
Friday.
the SEC cannot give official approval to these things. They can just let the deadline pass and not ask for changes. So it was always presumed, like we got word that, okay, they're not going to ask for changes, but it's a tacit approval. It's not them stamping it and saying, we hereby approve you to go ahead. So it was always kind of waiting for this moment to actually see the filing and say, okay, they've given, there are no barriers, there are no blockages that the SEC has put in their path. So it's finally happening. Zach, are you excited about this? What does this mean for crypto space? What does this mean to people getting access to the price movements of Bitcoin?
Yeah, I think there's reason to be excited about this for sure, right? Potentially someone with a self-directed IRA can hit that buy button on this thing and future products that are going to potentially hit the market for U.S. investors. And that is going to be, I don't know if it's going to be potentially transformative for Bitcoin's price or the Bitcoin network itself, but especially it is going to be transformative for how many people are thinking about investing in this asset class. And it could potentially introduce them to further investments in this asset class in a direct manner down the line. So I think there is a lot of reason to be excited about something like this coming out the way it's coming out. These folks are going to be ringing the bell, the New York Stock Exchange tomorrow, which is going to be pretty exciting to see that ProShares will be ringing the bell to mark the occasion of this first U.S. Bitcoin futures ETF happening. This, I'm told by Control, this ringing will happen at 9:26 a.m. Eastern Time. So check that out if you're near to a computer at that time. But yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts, Will? Are you excited about this? Is this overblown? Should the futures thing, as opposed to a spot market ETF, be discussed in more detail? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll ramp out some of the conversation we had on Friday. The important things about this ETF is that it's both a futures product and it's cash settled from my understanding, unless that's changed since Friday, which it seems it hasn't. So from that reporting, a futures product means that you're looking at the future price of Bitcoin. The spot would be the spot of Bitcoin at the current time. Gary Gensler has made a lot of comments that he's more favorable towards a futures product as opposed to a spot product. The dialogue around that, I'm not certain about why that is. I think there's just some internal decisions on why they want a futures product. Cash settle is a more interesting point to me. The thing there is like when you're using an ETF or a derivative or something, you can kind of settle the account in cash or in kind. In kind would be like the commodity itself, for instance. So you can have like a futures ETF on oil, and you have to have a lot of places put all these oil barrels if it's settled in oil, or you can settle it in cash. The SEC has said that they want to do more of a cash settled mechanism because they don't really know how to do it around Bitcoin yet. If you're sending Bitcoin to people, I think the concern would be, hey, is there a custodian correctly set up there? Is someone going to lose their private key? Are we going to be able to get that Bitcoin to somebody correctly? And so they're more looking towards a cash settled product here. I've heard a lot of comments that this is probably the worst Bitcoin ETF to go public. It's not necessarily anyone's fault who's trying to like lobby an ETF to go through. It's the SEC's decision basically on what is going to go through or what is not going to go through. And this is the one the SEC wants to go through, is a cash settled future. I've heard that a Bitcoin spot product itself that's settled in Bitcoin would be the industry's pick, but that's not what the SEC wants. So that's not what we got. Jen, I'll throw it down to you.
I just have a question. I was reading earlier this morning that 3 more ETFs are expected to be passed this month. And we saw the price of Bitcoin jump on Friday when we talked about ProShares. So do you think that Bitcoin could hit an all-time high before the end of the year if these ETFs continue to? No, hey?
These questions are always so
not
unfair.
possible.
my
I'm
little
just
ball
asking
here.
everyone to
I have no
predict
idea
the
when the price
future.
is going to
Everyone
happen.
on the show is super intelligent. And so let's just hear it.
So I think that the ETFs are not actually expected to pass, but the decisions are still, the deadline is still there, so they have to make a decision. So we'll find out either way where the SEC goes. Maybe just one is enough for them to handle right now. But it is interesting seeing those, price jumps. As we've mentioned before, this has been baked into our psyche in the crypto industry for years and years and years. And every time there's like news, the price kind of moves a little bit. And now it's finally happened. I expected the price to move a lot more, I'm going to say, but I guess this has already been baked in for years and years. So it is what it is. I'm happy with what we got.